In AD 60, Rome ruled Britain with an iron fist. Its armies had conquered tribes, built roads, raised cities, and spread the power of the greatest empire on earth across the land. To Roman officials, Britain was another province, another territory safely under their mighty control. Then Rome made one costly mistake. Within months, entire Roman cities would be reduced to smoking ruins. Thousands would die. And at the center of it all stood a woman determined to bring the empire to its knees. Her name was Boudica, and this is the story of the day she set Roman Britain ablaze. To understand Boudica's revolt, we first need to understand her people. The Iceni were a Celtic tribe living in what is now eastern England, primarily in the region of Norfolk. Long before the Romans arrived, they had established themselves as a powerful and wealthy people. Unlike the image many Romans painted of Britain's tribes, the Iceni were not primitive barbarians. They were skilled farmers, traders, and warriors. They minted their own coins, controlled valuable territory, and maintained a strong cultural identity. When Rome invaded Britain in AD 43 under Emperor Claudius, many tribes resisted fiercely, but the Iceni took a different approach. Rather than fight a war they were unlikely to win, they became allies of Rome. Their king, Prasutagus, was allowed to continue ruling as a client king, a local ruler who remained loyal to Rome while maintaining a degree of independence. For years, this arrangement worked. The Iceni kept their lands, Rome kept the peace, but that peace was fragile, and everything depended on Roman goodwill. Boudica was the wife of King Prasutagus. Although much about her life remains unknown, Roman historians left vivid descriptions of her. They described a woman of remarkable presence, tall, fierce, and commanding. She had long, reddish-brown hair that fell below her waist and a powerful voice capable of rallying thousands. But Boudica was more than a queen. In Celtic society, women often enjoyed greater status than in Rome. They could own property, wield influence, and in some cases even lead armies. So when tragedy struck her family, Boudica was not the kind of person who would quietly accept injustice. She would become the face of one of the greatest rebellions Rome ever faced. In AD 60, the death of King Prasutagus ignited the revolt. Hoping to protect his family and kingdom, Prasutagus left a will that divided his estate between his daughters and the Roman Emperor Nero, a diplomatic compromise, or so he thought. Roman officials ignored it completely. Instead of respecting the agreement, Rome treated the kingdom as conquered territory. Iceni lands were confiscated, property was seized, nobles were stripped of wealth and status. The Romans saw an opportunity to expand their control, and they took it. But what happened next pushed the Iceni beyond breaking point. According to the Roman historian Tacitus, officials publicly humiliated Boudica. She was flogged, her daughters assaulted. For the Iceni, this was not merely political oppression, it was a direct attack on their queen, their royal bloodline, and their honor. Anger spread rapidly. The Romans had crossed a line, and Boudica would make them pay. Boudica united not only the Iceni, but neighboring tribes as well. Among them were the Trinovantes, another powerful people who had long resented Roman rule. Together they formed a massive rebellion. Ancient sources claim Boudica eventually commanded tens of thousands of warriors. The exact numbers are uncertain, but what is clear is that the uprising grew with astonishing speed. At the time, the Roman governor of Britain, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus, was leading military operations far away in western Britain. Much of the Roman army was absent. Roman settlements were vulnerable. Boudica struck before Rome could react. Her first target was Camulodunum, modern Colchester. The city was a symbol of Roman power. It housed a grand temple dedicated to Emperor Claudius and was populated largely by Roman veterans. To the rebels, it represented everything they hated. The attack was devastating. The city had weak defenses and and little military protection. When Boudica's forces arrived, they overwhelmed it completely. Buildings were burned, the temple was besieged, the settlement was reduced to ruins. Roman citizens fled in terror. Those who remained often met brutal deaths. The rebellion had begun, and Rome was suddenly on the defensive. News of Camulodunum's destruction sent shockwaves across Britain. The Romans attempted to stop the rebellion. A force from the 9th Legion marched to confront Boudica, but the rebels ambushed them. The infantry was destroyed. Only some cavalry managed to escape. For the first time since the conquest, Roman military superiority seemed uncertain. Fear spread. Officials realized they were facing something far larger than a local uprising. Meanwhile, Boudica continued advancing. Her next target was Londinium. Today, London is one of the world's largest cities. At the time, it was still relatively young, but rapidly growing into an important commercial center. Governor Suetonius rushed south and assessed the situation. He made a difficult decision. He could not defend the city. His forces were too small, so he ordered an evacuation and withdrew. Those who could leave escaped. Many could not. When Boudica arrived, Londinium suffered the same fate as Camulodunum. The city was burned to the ground. Archaeologists have uncovered layers of red ash and burned debris dating directly to the revolt. Even today, evidence of Boudica's destruction remains buried beneath modern London. But she wasn't finished. The rebels moved on to Verulamium, near present-day St. Albans. That city too was destroyed. Within a matter of weeks, 3 major Roman settlements had been wiped out. Roman Britain was collapsing. As Boudica's victories mounted, more people joined her cause. What had begun as outrage over the treatment of one family became a broader rebellion against Roman occupation. For many Britons, the revolt represented a chance to reclaim their freedom. The Romans had imposed taxes, seized land, demanded obedience. Now, for the first time in years, imperial authority looked vulnerable. Ancient sources claim that as many as 70,000 to 80,000 Roman citizens and allies may have died during the uprising. Modern historians debate the exact figures. Ancient writers often exaggerated numbers, but the scale of destruction was undeniably enormous. Entire communities vanished. Trade halted. Roman administration crumbled across large portions of the province. For a brief moment, it seemed possible that Rome might lose Britain altogether. But Rome had one advantage. Its armies were still alive, and they were preparing to strike back. Governor Suetonius knew he could not continue retreating. He gathered every available soldier he could find. The force was relatively small, perhaps around 10,000 men, but these were experienced Roman troops, disciplined, professional, battle-hardened. Boudica's army was much larger. Some ancient accounts claim over 100,000 warriors. The two sides eventually met at an unknown location somewhere along a Roman road, possibly Watling Street. Before the battle, Boudica reportedly rode before her warriors in a chariot. She reminded them of Roman cruelty, of stolen lands, of humiliation, of freedom. The crowd roared in support. Everything would be decided here. Suetonius carefully chose the battlefield. His troops stood in a narrow position with woods behind them. This prevented the Britons from surrounding them. When the attack began, the rebels surged forward, but numbers alone could not overcome Roman discipline. The Roman soldiers held formation. They launched volleys of javelins, then advanced methodically behind their shields. The tightly organized Roman line cut through the larger but less coordinated tribal force. Panic spread among the rebels. Retreat became impossible. Many had brought their families in wagons to witness what they expected would be a victory. Those wagons now blocked escape routes. What followed was a catastrophe. The rebellion's army collapsed. Thousands were killed. Rome had survived. After the defeat, Boudica disappeared from history, almost as suddenly as she had emerged. Ancient accounts differ regarding her fate. Some claim she took poison rather than be captured. Others suggest she died from illness shortly afterward. No confirmed grave has ever been found. Her final resting place remains one of Britain's enduring mysteries. But while Boudica herself vanished, the impact of her revolt would never be forgotten. Boudica had failed. Rome remained in Britain for nearly another 4 centuries. The empire rebuilt its cities, restored order, and continued expanding its influence. Yet history remembers Boudica, not because she won, but because she dared to challenge one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen. She transformed personal tragedy into a mass movement. She united rival tribes. She brought Roman Britain to the edge of collapse, and she became a symbol of resistance against oppression. Centuries later, during the Victorian era, Boudica was celebrated as a national heroine. A massive bronze statue of her stands near the Houses of Parliament in London, depicting her riding into battle with her daughters beside her. Today, she remains one of the most famous figures in British history, a queen, a rebel, a warrior, and for a brief, terrifying moment in AD 60, the woman who set Roman Britain on fire. The ashes of Boudica's rebellion may have settled nearly 2,000 years ago, but her story still captures our imagination. What would you have done? Join the rebellion or stand with Rome? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest uprisings, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories of Britain. Thanks for watching.